morning. Been a while since I've streamed and whatnot. Since my holiday after last weekend. The Whit Sundays, lovely place. Highly recommended if you ever go to Australia, Gold Coast. No, not Gold Coast. Australia, Queensland. I've got to find a towel. Oh wait, there we go. Wonderful place, very scenic. You probably saw it all over my Instagram if you even follow that. Lovely, just beautiful to see such a tropical place within Queensland, like within Australia itself. Normally I have to travel to like Southeast Asia or something like that to get such wonderful views of beaches and everything and all. That was lovely. In saying that, afterwards felt a bit lazy, didn't do streams, but I did work out and whatnot. But you know, let's get back into it. As usual, I'll be just watching stuff in the background just so there's a bit of background noise.
You beautiful bastard. Welcome back to the Philip Franco Show. I got a fantastic
Yeah, just basic Mondays today.
We're gonna go through all the big
I'm gonna try to concentrate. There's a fly. Oh, I
I
got it.
Disgusting.
Disgusting.
Of things. I'm gonna kick it over to our frustrated recap correspondent, Zed Tabani. Zed?
Hit the gas stove, what an asshole, fucking up the game like I'm Hasbro. Keep a couple copies
I'm
in
not
the
too
back
keen on this
row.
guy.
Give a golden globe out to Santos.
Now it is with Monday. On Monday, we did have a little bit of a lighter show because it was MLK Day, but we still managed to look at the major developments involved in the entertainment.
Yeah.
And
Basic Mondays, just gonna do
started with
dips,
Andrew Tate, the details were slowly getting about the chase the Romanians had against him. Started saying things like the
squats,
WhatsApp messages were
Russian
told women
twists,
couldn't go anywhere
and for the
alone.
fourth
Well,
exercise, I'll figure that out later, depending on how I'm feeling. I'm always lazy on Mondays because of my weekends. Anyway, let's just get started.
It was crazy to see how many of them were marching in the streets of Athens. But that's not going to speed up.
I should get into warming up a bit more. I noticed by my third set I'm really pushing out a lot harder.
Days till at least February 27th. However,
Just
regarding
lazy.
the
I guess
Kings
my
defense,
warm-up
Andrew
is
Tate
my
is
workout in a
pushing back
sense.
against that. One of you beautiful
I realize I just
bro,
had to
as
be pushing
King's
harder.
horrified, people are claiming this sounds like consensual kink flick. He sounds like every douchebag
It is what it
fake
is.
dom
That's
that
the
tries to
journey.
lure
Consistency
newbies
is
into
the
an
main
abusive
key.
relationship by claiming it's kink.
Definitely got a bit lazy last
every
week.
time you hear about the kink community, they always talk about communication and consent. Without both, it can become SA. If the voice message is true, it sounds like an SA case. Like consent was revoked and he didn't listen. I also kind of get why Dash said this. Everything I know about Andrew Tate has been against my will. God, I do not care for this guy, but he's everywhere. Which I will say, I kind of understand that frustration, though it's on different topics. Like the new Twitter, for example, that For You tab they fucking gave. Literally, that feed is like rage bait. Like people I actively do not follow, I want to stay away from their content because I don't want to be angry at all times. Twitter's like, hey, look at this fucking insane bullshit. Don't you want to say something? Don't you want to just ruin your whole weekend and have both of your fans arguing and staying on the platform? But also, you know, when it comes to Twitter, I'm probably far more critical of that because I don't agree with the
There have been a
person
huge
itself, but
influx
there is an
of
argument
flies
that
within
by ignoring
Australia.
assholes with massive audience, it doesn't make them go
I
away. I do think there's a benefit to someone being such a
wiping
big
them
focal
out
point
in
of
my room.
conversation and them having such a big audience that we do cover
on the
certain
floor
people
somewhere.
because I think it's important that if you're going to like see
But
something
what if it's
from
far
a
away,
fuller
so
picture.
good on you
Ultimately,
if you
talking
wanna
about
live.
toxic issues is often the only way for people to learn about them, which is also why we ended up speaking to a few experts about body image issues, and in particular delving into this heroin chic look making a comeback. With this, so many of you came out to talk about how this specific trend had long-lasting effects on your lives and how you view your bodies. Really just reinforces what those experts were saying, that these trends have consequences. So Lady Spider here doesn't actually think that it ever went out of fashion, saying, as someone who has recovered from an eating disorder, I do want to say that the whole movement around heroin chic never went away. People just got more careful about hiding their idealization of super thin bodies. COVID caused a spike in eating disorders, and this becoming a trend again feels, at least to me, like an inevitable result of a combination of social media and collective extreme stress. So Vanna's experience suggests that the ideal body type does fluctuate. As she wrote, as a 24-year-old woman who went through the thick BBL era as a young person and who felt pressure to change my body in a way that wasn't natural to me to be desirable, I feel bad for young women with heroin chic coming back. I wish we'd stop making body types a trend. Embracing your unique features and style will always be the way to go. We have people like Ladybug sharing their approach to the whole issue, saying in high school, when I was a size 0, I had body issues and felt like I needed to lose weight because I kept seeing people online who were thinner and looked better. Luckily, that didn't become a feeling I acted on, and after high school, I realized how bad social media was for me, so I deleted Instagram and stopped posting pictures of myself online. These days, I prefer interest-focused social media to person-focused because I don't want to feel bad and compare myself to others ever again. I also want to add with this story why it gives me such an appreciation for us having now this Sunday show. You know, on any given show, we might be talking about like 5 to 10 topics. Just being able to hear so many just unique individual experiences, and that can like continue the conversation, especially within like a week, is great. It's eye-opening, and it gives me an extra appreciation for y'all. And then on Tuesday, we talked about the Britney Spears situation, AI art getting sued, Mexico banning smoking in public. First thing here, and probably the most important, I'd like to thank KT Cat for noticing. Yes, I am so close to my thirst trap era. YouTube keeps suppressing these videos. I might need to launch that OnlyFans. Sorry, Lindsay. If it makes you feel any better, 95% of the subscribers are going to be men. Why? Because this is gonna be controversial. The gays of the beautiful bastard DeFranco Nation have been riding with me since day one of this new mission and hyping me up since that first failed hike. Well, of course, I appreciate any of the kind support from everyone. Know that as I continue this fitness journey, I'm doing it for the male gaze. And you can spell that G-A-Z-E or G-A-Z-E. Both are accurate.
120 beats.
Diving into the serious topic,
I'll
Julia
get
was
back to it
apprehensive about Mexico's smoking ban, saying that law enforcement will just use this new law to extort money from
time.
citizens instead of enforcing. And unfortunately,
Catching
I'm
up
not
with world
surprised by
news.
that comment. It was pretty much what a lot of people were saying from the start, with Julian going on to say how students in his area already flaunt a ban on selling vapes and just pay the police off, which kind of creates a system and cycle where the cops know if they harass people smoking, they can get money for doing it, and at the same time, people breaking the law know that they can just do so for a few extra bucks. Also, we had the situation where Getty Images got to look like the good guy for a lot of you by going after Stability AI and its AIR generation tool,
So many
With Angel here
flies.
particularly ecstatic, but also
that
wondering
season
why
again,
it
I
didn't
guess.
happen sooner. Saying, I've been waiting for a big company
We've
to
got a
sue
bug
over
zapper out in the
AIR. I'm
kitchen.
shocked that Disney hasn't pulled a
Best
lawsuit as well, given
investment
how you can
ever.
generate Disney IP-based
But
images that
still.
were clearly trained using official Disney.
Damn
But one of the
fly.
biggest responses and takeaways from many of y'all was that opting out of having your art used to train AIs was not enough, with people wanting rather an opt-in. Although, as someone who's had to deal with Getty Images, I did have a laugh at the mask's take, which was the irony of Getty Images suing Stability AI for using pictures without a license is hilarious considering Getty Images practically trademarks every image imaginable just to generate revenue. However, the main thing that people were talking about on this video was Britney Spears. Right? She was trying to have a dinner and it quickly devolved into people filming her. And probably the most consistent take was, "Leave Britney alone!" Right, Kate pointing out that Britney Spears has been through so much and she deserves peace. Like she just wants to enjoy a meal like the rest of us. And she was hardly the only one who thought that it just wasn't right that this was happening to Spears, that she couldn't enjoy a meal with some semblance of privacy. With others also pointing out that even if Britney was having a manic episode, it doesn't negate the fact that she should just feel frustrated that she was being filmed all the time in public. Brinley was actually confused why people thought she was having a meltdown at all, saying, "I almost laughed when you showed the Britney video. If I saw that with zero context, I would literally just think she was talking to the waiter while trying to be heard over loud music, and that the camera was too far away for anything she says to be understood." Actually, I still think that. Another overall consensus was that places like TMZ need more accountability, and that this culture of filming celebs needs to go. With Caspian Rose's writing, the South Park episode about Britney feels more and more relevant as it goes on. Britney literally can't just exist as a human. Shame on TMZ, shame on people that film celebrities just existing, shame on those leeches that make celebrities' lives shitty just for clicks. While Nerd Fiction said, we need harsher consequences against sites like TMZ. Don't prevent media from posting, but allow citizens to sue the shit out of them when they do shit like this. And then, I was that kid that wouldn't like eat or drink anything green. Well, that slowly changed over the years. Oh man, if I had athletic greens, it would have changed in a day. I'm drinking that every morning, and not only is it helping my body, it's helping this show because they're also sponsoring today's show. AG1 by Athletic Greens is a nutritional drink that's created a movement around simplifying your health routine. It supports your energy, focus, gut health, digestion, immune system, and more. Each scoop of AG1 is 9 health products in one, giving you the equivalent of a multivitamin, probiotic, minerals, and more. So you don't need to be that person with all those supplements piling up on your countertop. And Athletic Greens invests in high-quality ingredients, going above and beyond to ensure what's on the label is exactly what's in the powder. It mixes well with water, and it's honestly the best-tasting, highest-quality nutrition drink I've ever tried, making it an essential part of my routine. Plus, it supports the healthy intentions I'm setting for myself every day. And the best part, they're giving you added immune system support with a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3, K2, plus 5 individual travel packs with your purchase. It'll be hard to find a better, more comprehensive supplement, so go to athleticgreens.com/Sprinkle, or just click that link below to get a 1-year supply of vitamin D drops plus 5 travel packs with your first purchase of AG1. And then we have Wednesday with YouTube just killing this video by, I think we are we the first video they did this to? We got a viewer discretion is advised screen. We got age gated. Like, I've been age gated before, but there was a viewer discretion advised screen, so it killed the video being promoted. And then even when people were going and finding the video, I had a number of people saying when they clicked the button they still couldn't access and watch the video because the YouTube system is so inconsistent, so stupid. I can't even say why that happened and why we think it's wrong, but whatever. You're not here to hear me whine. But on this video, first off, there were a substantial amount of people that were kind of shocked that I was covering book news, which, like, one, I can understand it. Maybe it's like a niche hobby to some degree. We've talked about book talk in this space in the past, but also just the pure insanity of the story we covered. Of course I'm gonna cover that. Like, if the person at the center of that story wasn't an author and instead they were like a vegetable pickler, I I would have still covered that news. Though I will say there were people like Sarah that said, regarding kind of the book world, it is important to note how toxic it is. Writing, while I understand any community can be toxic, I've had my closest friends in the community turn on me when I set boundaries, and the bullies are relentless. Going on to say that she was shocked that grown adults can still bully people so relentlessly. And Beth saying one of the reasons I'm most upset is that all
I
the
think
friends she
120 beats
made
is good.
talked about the immense guilt they felt.
Every time I
all
get
the
to under
sorrow people
120
were
beats, I'll start
needlessly
mixing.
put through friends and
Oh,
fans,
my chicken
noting that the
legs.
person at the center of the story doesn't think she did anything wrong. That is where I'm going to leave that story. I
Curse.
feel like I'm trying to jump through so many hoops just so this video doesn't get shut down as well. But it does take us to the story regarding the near kidnapping of a barista.
always
Like,
nice
some
to
dude
see
goes to
when
hand
people
her
are
money,
overweight.
then grabs her, tries to zip
They
tie her, drag her out the window. Well,
reduce
this, of
it,
course, an extreme
exercise
outlier. For
diet,
people
all
like
that
Eileen,
stuff.
dealing with crazy customers isn't
The
that
gift
rare
that they
anymore.
get
Right?
is
I've been in customer service for
they
10
get
years.
amazing
Customer behavior has
carbs.
been getting beyond scary.
Cars
to me.
that
I noticed a
I would
huge
never
increase
be
in
able to
customer
achieve
aggression
unless,
about 1 year into the pandemic. I
I
work in
ate
pet
that
health, and
much and
customers screamed,
let it
threatened
grow
to
and
find
I
my
bulk
office.
down,
Some
but
even stalked my coworkers
yeah,
online
something I'm
and
jealous
emailed
about.
back in with personal details they found about the employees. That's too much to handle as a worker. It feels like people are snapping from all the stress in the world. However, what was really scary to read was the fact that so many of you had stories about customers threatening you, attacking you, or even trying to kidnap you. Right? You had people like Nathan having this story about a man who came in, seemed pleasant, then dropped the bomb that he had terminal cancer. But that wasn't the weird part. Instead, writing, when I started checking him out, he leaned in over the counter and said in a low voice, "You better not run now or I'm gonna beat your ass." I immediately assumed that he was gonna rob me, but he leaned back and started laughing like he told the funniest joke in the world. You know, how you threaten violence against a stranger, you know, as a joke. Meanwhile, we had people like the Glitches Purple talking about how when she was 19, a customer came in when she was alone working at a bar and nearly abducted her, and saying she was lucky that a security member just so happened to come by then and stop the encounter. Or BK's story about working at a drive-thru where young women were forced to work the window since they were perkier, only to then be harassed. And even talking about an incident when a customer got upset and came back right away with a BB gun and shot it at my coworker through the window. But for a lot of you, the story about crazy customers and the situation with Billie Eilish having to deal with a stalker actually went hand in hand. Because there were a ton of stories about people dealing with stalkers who started because they saw y'all at work. Ava telling us about a friend who had to deal with a stalker who would go out of his way to only order his food with her, and it eventually escalated to him following her to her car. Saying it even got to a point where she quit her job over it, and for a while she dealt with severe anxiety when she was in public because she'd see people out and about and think that they were him. Trendia highlighting a pickle a lot of you find yourselves in. As someone who's been both stalked and almost kidnapped, it's incredibly unnerving to see other people in similar situations. I'm currently working in the fast food industry, and I know these horrifying situations happen, but what can I do but keep working when I don't have the qualifications for a safer job? And then on Thursday we had a massive show. We talked about everything from the Logan Paul v. Coffeezilla situation, New Zealand's prime minister stepping down, the Ozempic shortage. We talked to experts about our current mass extinction event, and then there was even more. But starting with the Logan Paul apology, where he was talking about how he handled the crypto zoo drama, his $1.3 million plan to fix the situation with Adriel writing. Logan is only sorry he got caught. His plan frickin' sucks. I really hope he gets sued to the ground because this is unbelievable. He even posted a tweet that the Matrix is after him, and it's just pathetic. He will blame anyone but himself for his horrible actions. Then, regarding the Ozempic situation, you had B-Felds talking about how it's impacted his mother and that he's been on the struggle bus trying to get it, saying she tried switching medications originally, but it caused a pretty bad allergic reaction. So now we have to import it because local pharmacies don't have it, and that doesn't even work all the time, so it's been a big struggle for her. Well, Ray Dufresne talked about how it's not just people trying to lose weight that are eating up products for diabetics, saying there's also a huge issue with fitness people buying up diabetic tech that saves lives, namely continuous glucose monitors, saying this tech is life-saving and is putting lives at risk. A 9-year-old boy just died in protective custody because they took away his insulin pump, saying he was playing with it. Diabetic ableism is killing us. Which I will say, like, looking into this news, also this conversation, wow. I already imagined that it was hard enough as it is to be diabetic, but it sucks to know that multiple things that are necessities who literally keep people alive are just being eaten out by people who likely could function just as easily with alternatives. I can't imagine the struggle like some like crazy rage quitters going through after just being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and a month later still not being able to get meds. I also had a number of people talking about her Dermy sudden resignation. And there, as expected, the reactions were mixed. Because while internationally she was widely popular, at home it was more complicated. And in general, I got the feeling that many felt she was trying to please too many people and couldn't deliver on some of the major promises that her party made when they took power. Again, want to stress this, I do not live in New Zealand, so I'm not in the thick of it. But comments like this one from Dakota Jade give us a little bit more insight. From Aotearoa, you hit the nail on the head. On New Zealand Twitter, resign Jacinda was a common hashtag the past couple of years. Conservatives obviously hate her, leftists think she's too passive, but personally I admire her. She knew we deserved the best and she put the country first. I hope she enjoys her well-deserved time off. But then that brings us to our conversation with scientists about the sudden drop-off of insects and life on Earth. With a lot of people having sentiments like Crystal, who said, appreciate the last segment of this news episode. A lot of people need a good perspective perspective of what humanity has been doing to this planet. Depressing, but it is reality. The way we do things needs to change, like 50 years ago. There's also kind of just a general love and appreciation for the fact that we're using our platform to spread information that's important from experts in their field. People saying, once again, giving scientists a platform in the news and sharing the incredible work they're doing. The state of our global biodiversity is unsettling, and spreading the facts about it can help us all make better decisions in where we put our money. But also with this, I did see a number of comments with people saying things like, makes me scared to have kids. I don't want them to inherit a doomed planet. It's time we get our shit together. And on that happy note, that's where I'm going to end today's show. Thank you for another fantastic week. I appreciate y'all. And we're going to do the whole thing again starting tomorrow with that brand new Philip DeFranco show Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Let's close it how we always do. My name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.
That's it. Fly's been tagged. Chemicals will slowly get to its nervous system and then shut him down. Eventually he won't be able to fly, and then he'll pass away hopefully peacefully. Not like they do experiments to see how they feel when they get sprayed up by this stuff. But I think it reacts like a nerve agent. I think. Absolutely not an expert. I might have heard of something like that. Alright. I'm up to.
Blaming Voice Critical for the new cool way to get CTE, where people are demanding Atlanta police body cam footage be released. What we know about the horrible news in California so far, the damn problem in America that's just getting worse. We've got all that and so much more to talk about on today's brand new Philip DeFranco show, so buckle up, hit that like button, and let's just jump in.
This is stupid. I'm sorry. I enjoy most sports, especially fighting sports, but
It's over.
this is...
Do not get up.
So that insanity is from clips of a new show called Power Slap Road to the Title.
At least
Some
in
people
NFL,
excited, but a lot of others
football,
saying this just
fighting
looks like
sports,
violence porn, the
you
training,
have
the
a
brain
chance
damage
to
down
block.
He's
and
absolutely
dodge.
going to have someone die if he
But
keeps it
this
going
is
like that.
just...
Alright, so some details and background. This was created by
No,
UFC
I've got to put my
President
foot
Dana
down, so
White,
this
and
is
it started
just
airing on
stupid.
TBS last week. And the premise is,
I
well,
don't
it's
care if,
exactly
like,
what it
they're
sounds
using
like.
it
It's a
to get a
competition
living
series
and
where
whatnot,
competitive
but-
power slappers slap the ever-loving shit out of their opponents. So the controversy
You
actually
get
goes
one
back
brain,
before the
man.
show even aired because its release date had to be delayed after
And
Dana
nerve
White
tissue
had a
is one of those
physical
things that,
altercation with
like,
his wife.
either
His video footage got
they don't
out showing
repair or
the two
they
of them
don't make,
talking when his wife all of a sudden slapped
or
him in the face. He then went
it
in and
repairs
slapped her
very,
back, leading to a
very
scuffle and people having to
slowly.
pull them apart. With all that coming out New Year's Day, and the show originally scheduled to come out on January 11th. You know,
Anyway, I'm stalling.
specifically bad optics. But now the show is out there, and you have many concerned about those involved suffering serious brain damage. And honestly, I mean, when you look at the clips, you can see why. In that first clip, the guy got hit so hard he falls straight to the ground, seemingly losing consciousness for a few moments until the medical staff's able to wake him up. And once he's up, he doesn't even know what happened to him. It's like he jumped time.
Doing what? Fighting?
You see people sharing that segment as well as other clips where people are just getting brutally hit on social media, with one neurologist saying that the people who do this may never be the same. Saying Dana White and TBS should be ashamed. Pure exploitation. What's
Stupid.
next? Who can survive a stabbing? And even professional fighters like Ryan Garcia saying the show needs to be stopped. Others writing, just here to say that Power Slap is dangerous and fundamentally wrong. Dana White should hang his head in shame with this. And adding, I hope it gets stopped before the damage to the fighters gets worse. With other combat sports, you are told to protect yourself at all times.
Yes.
With Power Slap, fighters are defenseless and at unnecessary risk. That's one of the key things people are arguing, that sports like boxing have defense tactics. But in
Yes.
power slapping, you're asking for a concussion every single time. We also saw this controversy affecting non-fighters. Right, Charlie Moise Critical, who I featured for a second at the top of this story, he actually responded to the situation because he was somehow wrapped up into the controversy. Because in the past, he actually talked about how he loves slap fighting as a niche sport. And so he had some people actually upset that he had promoted this kind of sport, that he's okay with this level of violence. So he ended up posting a video over the weekend clarifying he is not on board with Dana White or the Power Slap show.
What he's doing is significantly more dangerous than the slap fighting that I enjoy.
Explaining that in the leagues that he watches, they follow a much stricter set of rules designed to protect people. But with Power Slap,
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if in the next episode they have like a halftime show where two people just hit each other in the face with baseball bats until one of them loses their entire head, just gets decapitated.
but ultimately for now, one of the biggest questions is, will this succeed? Because it's already on TV right now. You have the Nevada State Athletic Commission seemingly in support of it. Well, the show premiered to kind of meh ratings. The controversy around this and all the conversation
People
it has
have lost
sparked
their
is going to
minds
raise
to money.
interest. So I really wouldn't be surprised if the viewership numbers on this went up, even if people are watching it because it's kind of a freak show. But as far as why Dana White and other promoters would maybe want to support something like this, is that likely in his eyes it solves one of his issues. People complaining about boring fights. Right, so many people love those clippable, crazy KOs. You know, I've lost track of the number of times, I've been watching like a UFC pay-per-view. I think it's a great fight, but then I go online and people are like, why are they cuddle fucking? Meanwhile, what you're watching is just like a wild showcasing kickboxing, of like wrestling and jujitsu. Right, it's super technical.
You don't
The way
like the
others have put
grappling
it, instead
gun,
of
watch
making like
Muay Thai or
another
kickboxing,
MLB,
my
another
gosh.
baseball league, you're making a league where it's only the
Watch
home run derby.
kickboxing, it's the
Except
purest
it's not
art
a
of hitting.
fantastic one-to-one comparison because I don't
You
know
get
anyone
clinched,
that's
one
getting
hit, then you
CTE
separate. That's it.
guaranteed
No
in
ground
every
fighting,
home
no
run derby.
grappling,
If anything, I
no
feel extra bad
wrestling.
for these fighters who literally
Pure
are not
hitting.
allowed to defend themselves. Because with Dana White at the helm of this, they're risking all of this for what? Probably 3 nickels and a Baja Blast? Like, it's just pure insanity. And then, there are thousands of ticking time bombs all across America just waiting to go off right now. But it's not like the classic, do I cut the red wire or the blue wire kind of bomb. Instead, what I'm talking about is the cornerstone of our infrastructure, dams. Because there's about 92,000 of them in the United States, and they prevent flooding, generate electricity, and store water for us. The problem is that a lot of them are breaking down, be it from crumbling concrete, broken floodgates, or damaged support beams. In fact, the American Society of Civil Engineers gave our flood control infrastructure a D in 2021, and an AP analysis in 2022 found more than 2,200 high-hazard dams in poor or unsatisfactory condition. And then, just a couple of months ago, USA Today counted nearly 3,000 dams in areas that are getting more frequent storms than in the past that are listed in poor or unsatisfactory condition, and would probably kill people or destroy property if they failed. With that including the
Yeah,
Overholser
working out from
Dam in
home,
Oklahoma
sit on the
City,
couch
the 2015
while you
model
rest.
predicting what would happen if it
Let
broke
the
during
tiredness
the worst
sink in on
case
ya.
flood, and finding it would inundate a path 2 miles wide and 30 miles long, flooding mobile homes, hotels, and schools. And if that sounds bad to you, that is nothing compared to South Carolina's 130-year-old Canesti Dam, which is reportedly close to cracking wide open. And that's horrifying news because it's the only thing standing between tens of thousands of Greenville residents and the millions of tons of toxic chemicals and raw sewage straining to break free. But even though the State Department of Health and Environmental Controls agrees that the state of the dam is hazardous and lawmakers say it is leaking, they're struggling to scrounge up the cash for repairs. This is in no way the only one that could introduce
Alright,
nasty
120
chemicals
bits.
into the
Let's get back to
equation.
it.
In 2021, ProPublica found that with 81 dams in 24 states, if they were to fail, they could flood a major toxic waste site and spread contaminated material into surrounding communities. And in fact, we almost saw that happen back in 2020 with Michigan's Edenville Dam, with that erupting, forcing thousands of people to evacuate and flooding a Dow chemical plant. But luckily there was no reported evidence of significant toxic release. The future looks concerning because as dams continue to age, climate change will bring stronger storms and heavier rainfall, leading to a very concerning and possibly explosive situation for those caught below the breach. And although Biden's 2021 infrastructure package allocated $3 billion to dam-related projects, it barely touches the $76 billion needed to fix nearly 89,000 dams not owned by the federal government. And then, for any of you focused on getting your business off the ground, creating a place to share your homemade goods, new favorite hobby, current obsession, or even have a personal blog to get all those thoughts out of your head, we've got a great solution for you thanks to our fantastic sponsor, Squarespace. You know, I've been partnering with Squarespace for years now, and I have to say, it's just so easy. There's nothing to install, patch, or upgrade ever, and creating a beautiful website with Squarespace's all-in platform has never been so simple. It's incredibly intuitive and easy to use. Plus, with their mobile-optimized website, your content automatically adjusts so it looks great on any device, which is more important than ever. And with Squarespace, you get access to all their marketing tools and analytics, and their award-winning customer care team via email or live chat 24/7. So if you want to check it out, see why so many others love it, see if it's right for you, go ahead and start your free trial today over at squarespace.com/Phil. And when you realize you love it, make sure you enter an offer code Phil to get 10% off your first purchase. And then things got crazy in Atlanta this weekend after a protest turned violent. Right, so people had come out on Saturday to protest the construction of a $90 million, 85-acre planned police training facility dubbed Cop City, as well as the death of activist Manuel Esteban Paez-Terán. Because Manuel had been protesting the facility as well, camping out in the woods where it was going to be built. And last Wednesday, officers came to clear out the area and arrest those within it. They find Paez-Terán, they tell him to get out, and according to their version of events, he then shoots an officer with them returning fire and killing him. Right, so we see Saturday's protest over these two things, as well as to bring awareness to the Atlanta Police Foundation and its connection, with demonstrators marching down a major Atlanta street, and according to the police chief Darren Shirebaum, things were largely peaceful. But going on to say that eventually a smaller group began to break off from the crowd and were committing illegal acts. Or things like breaking windows, setting cop cars on fire, and things eventually calming
One or
down
two more
with 6
sets, let's see what it
arrests by
takes
the end of Saturday, with those arrested facing charges including domestic terrorism, arson in the first degree, criminal damage, and interference with government property. Now with this controversy, we should step out and talk about how different groups are framing it. We're seeing more conservative outlets seeing this as another example of violent protesting in the cities, as well as Antifa running amok, going as far as to claim that Paez-Terán was part of Antifa. But meanwhile, you have others saying and asking things like, y'all mad about cars and windows when forest defender Paez-Terán was murdered by the police? What's the appropriate response to murder? Which leads us to the next big controversy in this whole situation: what actually happened in the woods? So we have the police's version of events, that he shot at them, he wounded an officer, they shot back, and he was killed. That's not murder. Which is why we're seeing some activists saying that the police's version of events are a lie despite the alleged evidence the police have released. Which brings us to the good news. We can figure out who is telling the truth because we have body footage. Except apparently, no, we actually don't. Because the Georgia Bureau of Investigations won't release the footage, claiming that the cameras on the scene don't actually show what happened. With Manuel's mother telling The Guardian, "I'm convinced that he was assassinated in cold blood," and others demanding an independent investigation. But for now, that's where we are, and as we wait to see what else comes from this, I want to pass a question off to you. What are your thoughts here? And then, we of course need to talk about the tragic shooting that happened in Monterey Park, California that left 11 dead and 9 others injured. So what we know is that the attack took place Saturday evening at the popular Star Ballroom Dance Studio in the close-knit, predominantly Asian suburb of Los Angeles, where celebrations were taking place for Lunar New Year's Eve. The Ballroom Dance Studio is Chinese-owned, frequented by older Chinese Americans. And according to law enforcement officials, shortly after 10 p.m., the gunman entered the studio and began to fire, then leaving the scene and going to another dance studio a few miles away in the neighboring Alhambra. With LA County Sheriff Robert Luna saying the shooter walked in there probably with the intent to kill more people, but miraculously, 2 people confronted the suspect and were able to disarm him. With Luna saying the shooter had a large-capacity semi-automatic pistol that he does not think is legal in California. But as far as the heroes, we know one was 26-year-old Brandon Tsai, who was the 3rd-generation operator of the family-run studio. In fact, we now have surveillance videos of Brandon confronting the attacker, struggling with him, and eventually getting control of the gun. Brandon later describing the fight to Good Morning America. He started prepping his weapon and something came over him. I realized I needed to get the weapon away from him. I needed to take this weapon and disarm him, or else everybody would have died. And going on to say once he got control of the gun, he pointed it at him and told him to get out. With the authorities saying the man then fled in a white cargo van, prompting an hours-long manhunt that ultimately ended when a SWAT team cornered the van in a parking lot in Torrance, about 30 miles away from the shootings, and there the attacker took his own life. Now, as far as what we know about the shooter, Luna identified him as a 72-year-old man of Asian descent. And as of recording, authorities have said so far that an official motive is unclear. Right now, there are a bunch of different conflicting reports and theories, but none have actually been confirmed by the police yet. Though according to CNN, the suspect's ex-wife and longtime acquaintance both said he had been a regular patron at Star Ballroom Dance Studio. While his ex-wife told the outlet that he had never been violent towards her, she did say he could be quick to anger. Meanwhile, the acquaintance said that when the suspect frequented the dance hall, he would often complain that the instructors at the dance hall didn't like him and said evil things about him, and adding that this man was hostile to a lot of people there. We also had Los Angeles Magazine reporting that a law enforcement source said that the attacker was looking for his wife at both the dance halls that he went to, and that there was increasing evidence that this was domestic violence. It also at least appeared to be backed up by Chester Chong, the chairman of the Chinese Chamber of Commerce of Los Angeles and a community leader in Monterey Park, who said that he had heard the attack was related to domestic violence, with him also telling multiple outlets that jealousy might have been a possible motive because he was told the suspect's wife had been invited to the Lunar New Year party, but he had not. But then you also have law enforcement sources telling outlets that the man had recently shown up at a local police station saying that his family was trying to poison him, with an official also telling the New York Times that investigators believe the suspect specifically targeted some of the people that were killed, but others seem to have been killed randomly. It's an important thing to remember that with this horrific story, there are a lot of moving parts here. Of course, we need to wait to see what updates we get because this is still a developing story. Very unfortunately, stories like this are not as rare as they should be in our country, whether it be gun violence in general or shooting incidents where there are more than 10 victims. But I mean, just early morning Sunday, according to reports, 12 people were injured in a shooting at a nightclub in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And in a press conference yesterday, the Baton Rouge police chief said that based on preliminary investigation, the incident was not a random act of violence and added, "We believe that this was a targeted event where someone was specifically targeted and others were injured in that process." Then at the same time, you have a law enforcement source telling CNN that some witnesses at the club said a fight broke out between 2 different groups of patrons, and then multiple people pulled out guns and just began shooting, which means both of those possible scenarios equally horrifying. And that actually brings us to the end of today's show. When you leave a comment down below on the news that matter most to you, I want to just say thank you for watching, like it.
Big second trailer that just came out last night after the TW2 tournament in Amsterdam. I was asleep. A lot of my brethren were wake up all last night.
Your luck has run out.
Must be the code.
Get ready for the next lap. Section 8. New challenger.
Going somewhere?
Nina Williams.
Isn't it past your bedtime?
right to the
was
heart.
disappointing.
I guess it's better than her old rage drive, which does a million flips into a triangle or an armbar. It's so stupid. Whatever. It's a trailer. If it gets more people playing the game, that's all that matters in the end. That's what I get for being old school, I guess.
iDubbbz Creator Clash 2 and the fight he offered me, breaking down the Taylor Swift Ticketmaster dumpster fire hearings today, the real reason eggs are so dang expensive right now, my response to the M&M's controversy, more horrible news out of California we have to talk about. We've got all of that and so much more on today's brand new Philip DeFranco show, so buckle up, hit that like button, let's just jump into it. This announcement today has me more excited than I've been in a while. iDubbbz and Anissa's Creator Clash just announced Creator Clash 2. They showed the full card. It's happening in April and it's amazing. This is how I want all the creator boxing events. All creators. Like, it was interesting at first, but I'm not buying Jake Paul pay-per-views. And the events that KSI are doing, I think, are actually much more interesting. Though I really would like to see him fight someone where it was like, it seems somewhat evenly matched, like when he and Logan fought. It feels like he's just been kind of doing cakewalks, and I mean that with no disrespect. I couldn't do that. But Creator Clash is set up like the old school ones. It's a bunch of creators, and you have literally no idea who's gonna do what. And there are a number of friends of this show actually on this card. Right, so here's the full setup, and let's talk about some of the individual ones. Dad versus Starkiller, that's gonna be interesting. AB seems allergic to the idea of trying to take on an easy fight. Myth versus Hundar, Micah versus Alana Pierce. Alana, if you win, I'll get you 1,000 nuggets. Only 3 people know that reference. Aaron Hansen versus Jarvis Johnson. Leon Hart versus Crank Gameplays. Marisha Ray going from D&D to you versus me. Harley in there looking jacked. I wonder if he's gonna lie about his weight this time. And there's one. The main event is Alex Wasabi versus iDubbbz. Which I say this with no disrespect, because this event is supposed to be about good vibes, but my money's on iDubbbz. The fact that he was able to stand toe-to-toe with Dr. Mike after really only taking up the sport somewhat recently. With that size difference, I think he's going to show off here. I'm willing to put money on that. Also, with this announcement, I have gotten a number of people saying, Phil, why are you not on this card? Which I would say 2 things here. The first being, I've been very clear about the only 2 people that I would be willing to box. Ethan Klein or Belle Delphine. Because I feel like I have an equal chance against both of them. And 2, despite making this very clear publicly, Ian actually did offer me a fight. I don't want to blow up his spot, so I'm texting him right now to see if he's okay with me publicly mentioning this. But he asked if I would be willing to fight Logan Paul's dad, which is easily the weirdest thing I've been asked in 10 years. It is the epitome of a lose-lose. That is a person that will either kill me in the ring, or if I somehow won, kill me after. Because let me be clear, I may have lost weight, but that hasn't turned into strength yet. I'm not even a month into weight training. I got like these baby muscles, and I may be the least coordinated person on the planet. So no to that fight, and 99% of the fights that would be offered. My superpower in life is knowing where I'm not good and or am outmatched. That said, I cannot wait for Creator Clash 2, and for those that are looking forward to this, which fight are you looking most forward to? And then, there's not much that Democrats and Republicans can actually agree on, but one thing they did agree on today is fuck Ticketmaster. And that's how you really know you messed up, because you could ask Congress, like, what color is the sky? And Democrats would say, well, it looks blue, and Marjorie Taylor Greene would say, it's deep state lizard people green, and it was made that way by Jewish space lasers. You know, what centrists would call equally reasonable answers. But this Ticketmaster news did get a lot of attention today, because today there was a Senate hearing into Live Nation and Ticketmaster following the absolute disaster that was the pre-sale for Taylor Swift's Eras Tour. Right, you might remember we talked about it, the site was crashing, bots were grabbing seats, ticket prices were surging, sales were getting delayed, getting canceled, anything and everything that could go wrong did. With this, Ticketmaster has largely blamed bot attacks coupled with unprecedented demand. Also, at one point seemingly suggesting it was because Taylor had gone too long without tour. You had tons of people rejecting this explanation, saying Ticketmaster needs to take more blame here. This including Senator Richard Blumenthal, who said during today's hearing,
May I suggest respectfully that Ticketmaster ought to look in the mirror and say, I'm the problem. It's me.
Richard, why? I'm gonna pull a muscle roll in my eyes this hard. Although, in his defense, the whole hearing was full of senators speaking Taylor Swift lyrics into their statements. And this may have actually been the least cringy one.
To be honest, I had hoped, as of a few months ago, to get the gavel back. But once again, she's cheer captain and I'm on the bleachers.
You can't have too much consolidation, something that unfortunately for this country, as a ode to Taylor Swift, I will say, we know all too well.
A lot of people seem to think that's somehow a solution. I think it's a nightmare dressed like a daydream.
But going back to what's going on here, a lot of this whole thing is dealing with entertainment promoter Live Nation, Ticketmaster's parent company. Because the two companies merged back in 2010, and now leaders think that deal needs to be re-examined. But that also being something SeatGeek CEO Jack Gretzinger touched on while speaking at the hearing today.
Number one, a lack of robust competition in our industry meaningfully stunts innovation, and consumers are suffer. Number two, venues fear losing Live Nation concerts if they don't use Ticketmaster. And number three, the only way to restore competition in this industry is to break up Ticketmaster and Live Nation.
Some reports are saying that today's hearing could actually give the Justice Department a huge chunk of political support for an antitrust suit against Live Nation. But as far as what else was said during today's hearing, with Live Nation CFO Joe Berchtold directly addressing the Taylor Swift issue, predictably placing blame on the bots.
We knew bots would have got that on sale and planned accordingly. We were then hit with 3 times the amount of bot traffic that we'd ever experienced. The attack requires to slow down and even pause our sales. This is what led to a terrible consumer experience.
Russian twists.
We deeply regret. We apologize to the fans. We apologize to Ms. Swift. We need to do better, and we will do better.
And adding that in hindsight, there were a number of things that they could have done better. Which one of my writers, Maddie, who was in those Taylor Swift trenches, responded, "No fucking shit, you think?" But regarding their bot defense, with Jerry Mickelson, the CEO of Jam Productions, dismissing Ticketmaster there, saying, "You can't blame bots for what happened to Taylor Swift. There's more to that story that you're not hearing." And then explaining how Ticketmaster actually benefits from its own technical failures.
The process, when it's slowed down, increases the money that Ticketmaster makes because they make money on fees, and as the ticket prices go up due to dynamically priced tickets, Ticketmaster makes more.
The next set of
so
exercises
it's
at
to
120
their
beats.
advantage to slow the process down.
By saying that it creates a frenzy that allows prices to skyrocket, which is what happened during the Taylor Swift sale. Senator Marsha Blackburn also not buying the whole bot argument, pointing to the many companies and other massive industries who also deal with bots and saying,
"You know what? They get bot attacks every single day by the thousands. By the thousands. And they have figured it out, but you guys haven't. This is unbelievable."
Also, Senator Amy Klobuchar taking aim at other problems, including a lack of transparency in ticket prices, and also slamming how unaffordable live events have become.
Now, I don't think it's very easy for high school kids to make their money at Baker Square Pie Shop on the weekends and buy tickets to these major concerts.
With the hearing going on for roughly 3 hours, so obviously I'm not going to share everything, but I will link you to the full thing down below. Warning, there are moments of cringe. But with that, I would love to know your thoughts regarding Ticketmaster and this whole mess. And then, possibly the most important news today, M&M's had to release an official statement. This is not a joke. They actually did this. Writing, "America, let's talk. In the last year, we've made some changes to our beloved spokes candies. We weren't sure if anyone would even notice. We definitely didn't think it would break the internet. But now we get it. Even a candy's shoes can be polarized," which was the last thing M&M's wanted, since we're all about bringing people together. Therefore, we have decided to take an indefinite pause from the spokes candies. In their place, we are proud to introduce a spokesperson America can agree on, the beloved Maya Rudolph. We are confident Miss Rudolph will champion the power of fun to create a world where everyone feels they belong. Now, if you're like, "Phil, I'm behind on my candies-related political news coverage. What's going on?" Well, a lot of it kind of kicked off back when they made the green M&M not have those big boots anymore. Like, I don't know if you remember this. There was a time where for some reason the green M&M was like on a stripper pole and like unzipping her green shell. Because, you know, melt in your mouth, not in your hand was not a good enough innuendo for them. And actually in response to all of that, we saw a number of people, including Fox News' Tucker Carlson, essentially like, "Why'd you make the candies less sexy?" And then around 2 weeks ago, M&M's revealed new packaging. Like this one here showing 3 lady M&Ms. They're upside down. It's a supporting women flipping the status quo. And initially, I didn't even know if this was like a real change they were doing. And that's because there were like several other images of packaging going around that were actually fake. Things like packaging that read "Fem-N-Ms." And while people like myself just kind of didn't care they were doing this change, it's like, whatever. You're a candy company. It feels kind of like you're just kind of grabbing for cash, but whatever. But again, this move seemed to break a number of people's brains, including Tucker Carlson again.
Woke M&Ms have returned. The green M&M got her boots back, but apparently is now a lesbian, maybe. And there's also a plus-size, obese purple M&M. So we're going to cover that, of course.
Of course. Also, I don't know, is the M&M obese or just a peanut M&M? It's times like this that you can't really ignore or convince yourself that we don't live in the dumbest of times. But I will say, from a marketing standpoint, I am interested. Right? Some are taking this news at face value. They're saying, "Hey, look, this is M&M's realizing, hey, we should stay away from social issues and just be kind of funny." But then you have others saying, "Hey, look at the timing here. This could be a marketing misdirect for some big Super Bowl ad. An ad that might make fun of people who are up in arms around these changes." Now, as far as what the truth is, I don't know, but I also don't think I actually care. Because the core of this story is a candy company saying, "Hey, should we put social issues in our marketing? Will that make us more money?" And then, yeah, it is funny to see people's brains explode with something that's so stupid. But yeah, ultimately time will tell what the reality of this whole situation is. And then, if you haven't noticed, cologne and perfume bottles are expensive. Like, who's spending $200+ to get bored of the scent a week later? Well, that is where Scentbird comes in. Scentbird is a monthly subscription that allows you to try fragrances before committing. And I'd like to thank Scentbird for being the sponsor of today's show. You know, they work directly with the biggest names like Prada, Gucci, and Versace. But with over 600 amazing brands, you're sure to discover some hidden gems as well that you may not have heard of. And you choose a new designer fragrance each month. And when you're ready to upgrade to the full size, you can purchase any of the scents you like. This month, for example, I tried African Leather, Vanilla Embers, and Stag. My personal favorite, because it's now become Lindsay's favorite so far, is Vanilla Embers. I'm Italian. This is how I do it. I know what you're thinking. Yeah, one more. It's a great date night scent. It's easy going, but it's got that pop. You know, that little ooh. And best of all, did I mention it costs just $17 a month? So just click my link in the description and use code DeFranco for 55% off at Scentbird. Meaning it's just a little over $7 for your first month, and it's available in the US and Canada. So thanks again to Scentbird for sponsoring today's video. Check out the links below. And then, this is how people are flexing on Instagram right now. Cause yo, eggs is expensive. I went to Gelson's last week. I wanted to make breakfast for the kids. Forgot I didn't have eggs. I got an 18 count of eggs. That is it. Got to the register and they said, that will be $13.79, please. I thought it was an Erewhon for a second, or is it Erewhon? I don't know. Hate that place. So pretentious. It's like, hey, is Whole Foods too affordable for you? But also, even outside the bubble that is LA, eggs are fucking expensive right now. With it being common to see prices as high as $4.25 a dozen, which is over 130% higher than a year ago. Right, and as far as why, according to the USDA, the cause of this is because of the avian flu outbreak that killed tens of millions of hens. However, a farm advocacy group, Farm Action, says that's not the whole story. This isn't just the avian flu. And in a letter to the chair of the Federal Trade Commission, Farm Action urged the FTC to investigate these egg prices, claiming that the egg producers are using the avian flu outbreak as an excuse to fix and gouge prices and boost their profits. And pointing to the record sales of Cal-Maine Foods, the leading producer in the industry, which controls 20% of the retail egg market. And Reuters reporting that Cal-Maine reported their gross profits were up by, get ready for it, 600% from the same quarter last year. And that's in a filing with the SEC. So Farm Action is claiming, quote, Cal-Maine's willingness to increase its prices and profit margins to such unprecedented levels.
32 kilos Russian twists.
I'm hoping there were some dads on that team riding that were like, that's a good one. But Cal-Maine and others are calling hogwash on Farm Action's accusations. So Cal-Maine saying that their profits are due to the fewer eggs nationwide, driving up prices, not deliberate price gouging. And their VP and CFO saying the U.S. egg market is, quote, intensely competitive and highly volatile even under normal circumstances. You know, with that, there is a Forbes report seeming to back that up, saying that the cost of eggs in this crisis is not caused by corporate greed. Instead, saying the true drivers are 1, the avian flu, 2, the built-in delays in restoring supply-demand equilibrium to a multi-disrupted industry, 3, perhaps over a longer term, the gradual adoption of more humane egg production methods with somewhat higher costs. So Farm Action is standing firm with their accusations, saying in their letter to the FTC, in the end, what Cal-Maine Foods and the other large egg producers did last year and seem to be intent on doing again this year is extort billions of dollars from the pockets of ordinary Americans through what amounts to a tax on a staple we all need. Eggs, and saying they did so without any legitimate business justification. They did so because there is no reasonable substitute for a carton of eggs. They did so because they had the power and weren't afraid to use it. While the FTC has yet to comment on the situation, citing their policy about letters from third parties, there may actually be hope on the horizon, with an expert telling CNBC that wholesale eggs are down to $3.40 a dozen, which, hey, isn't much cheaper, and it'll still take some time to see the prices change on the shelves, but at least it's something. So for now, we have to wait to see what happens, and of course, I'll ask you, what are your thoughts regarding the situation? And then, is the NYPD spying on New Yorkers? That's a question that many were asking after an officer was seen holding a phone, recording video of people leaving Drake's concert at the Apollo on Saturday, with a journalist at the event filming the officer, posting it to Twitter, and boom, big reaction. People asking why would they be doing this, wondering if the same thing happens outside of the Billy Joel concert at Madison Square Garden. People sounding off saying this doesn't look like safety, it looks like unjustified surveillance. And asking, with no crime taking place here, what is the NYPD doing with the footage? You also had their surveillance technology oversight project condemning the NYPD and releasing a statement saying that the NYPD's use of video recording device on hip-hop fans at a historic institution of black performance in Harlem is highly concerning, and saying this is yet another example of the NYPD's racist use of surveillance technology following the department's long legacy of targeting rap concerts. In closing, we're deeply concerned facial recognition technology may have been involved and demand the department destroy any footage it took, and saying the NYPD surveilling rap concerts that dates back to the 90s. But in response to this, the NYPD has since denied that anything nefarious was happening and releasing a statement claiming the officer was just part of a social media team and was gathering video for a post about local events, saying the video will not be utilized for any other reason. New York Mayor Eric Adams also defending the police, saying that was a safe event, it was a large event, Drake back at the Apollo, and we want that. And adding, we want our police and community involved, and those who are naysayers find reason to complain about everything. everything, no matter what you do. And then, it's been 8 months since Sweden and Finland applied to join NATO, and the standoff with Turkey is still going on. Right, Turkey initially blocking their membership bid into the alliance due to the nations giving members of the PKK asylum, but the three nations cut a deal where they agreed to work out their differences. And for the most part, Finland has done everything it's needed to join. Turkey's objection to them is really just by association to Sweden. And with those two, I mean, it's been one thing after another. Turkey wanted Sweden to extradite journalists, but Sweden refused. Then 2 weeks ago, Swedish protesters hung an effigy of Erdogan, and last weekend they burned a Quran in front of the Turkish embassy. So now Turkey says that because of that, they will not admit Sweden. And to be clear, this is strange because it's Erdogan trying to intervene in Sweden's domestic affairs in a pretty cynical way. But this now has Finland openly saying it may have to join NATO without Sweden. Now, in actuality though, is this dispute truly about the PKK or the burning of the Quran? Well, there are disagreements here, because it's generally believed that Erdogan is just pulling an election stunt and delaying admitting Sweden until after his May election. And it's also believed that he's trying to leverage the US into being a better ally to Turkey. But the US is leveraged back by more or less threatening to not give Turkey the 70 F-16s they ordered until they admit Sweden and Finland into NATO. But a lot of this is conjecture, and no one can truly know what's going on in the mind of Erdogan. And then, y'all, there were 2 more mass shootings in California since we covered the Monterey Park attack yesterday. The first shooting happened in Half Moon Bay, a small coastal town about 30 miles out of San Francisco, where a gunman killed 7 and critically injured an 8th at 2 different locations. As far as what we officially know, according to authorities, police were dispatched to the first location around 2:20 p.m. and found 4 people shot to death and a 5th victim also suffering gunshot wounds. But shortly after, 3 more people found dead at another location nearby. And then about 2 hours later, police located the suspect in his car in the parking lot of a San Mateo County Sheriff's Office substation with a semi-automatic handgun in the vehicle that officials later confirmed he had purchased legally, with Sheriff Christina Corpus saying the man was taken into custody without incident and is fully cooperating. And as far as what we know about the shooter, he has been identified as a Half Moon Bay resident of Asian descent. Police initially saying he was 67 years old, but in remarks today, Corpus said he was 66. While right now the motive is unknown, the sheriff told reporters yesterday that both of the locations that he targeted were nurseries, and it's since been reported that specifically they were mushroom farms. And Corpus saying during a press conference this morning, all evidence we have points to this being an instance of workplace violence. The Mountain Mushroom Farm, the first location, is where the subject was employed, though adding, so far, the only known connection between the victims and the suspect is that they may have been co-workers. And as of recording, it remains unclear why he targeted the second location. Though regarding that, a mushroom farm called Concord Farm has told reporters that it was the site of the second shooting, which a law enforcement official also confirmed to the Washington Post. And in a statement to the media, a spokesperson said the farm had no past knowledge of the alleged gunman or his possible motives. And as far as the victims, as of recording, little has been released about them. The Corpus today did say they were all adults and a mixture of Asian and Hispanic descent, some of whom were migrants. Authorities also previously saying because people both live and work on the farms, children were among those who witnessed the shooting. But then, this morning, one official walked that back, saying that while children were in the vicinity, they don't have information about specific witnesses. But regardless, this shooting, especially on the heels of the Monterey Park attack, has further devastated the Asian American community at a time when many are still celebrating the Lunar New Year. Meanwhile, also just Californians in general are reeling from all of these attacks. Because as I mentioned earlier, this wasn't the only mass shooting just yesterday. Right, just hours after the violence in Half Moon Bay, 7 people were injured and 1 other was killed during a shooting at a gas station in Oakland. With currently very little having been reported about the whole incident, but police say that the shooting was between several individuals. And also with this, right, that the fact that all these shootings have taken place in California is very significant because California is known for its strict gun laws. In fact, the nonprofit Everytown for Gun Safety ranks California #1 in the country for gun law strength. So with this, you have many top leaders from California arguing this proves the need for more federal regulation. This including Governor Gavin Newsom, who told CBS News in an interview, the Second Amendment's become a suicide pact. We'll continue to find whatever loopholes we can and continue to lead the national conversation on gun safety reform. And the data bears out. It works. It saves lives. California is 37% lower than the death rate of the rest of the nation, and yet, with all that evidence, no one on the other side seems to give a damn. I can't get anything done in Congress. And to that point, after the Monterey Park shooting, we saw California Senator Dianne Feinstein, along with some other Democratic colleagues, introducing 2 gun control bills, with President Biden also putting his support behind the measures, urging Congress to pass them. But also, I really don't see that happening, not only because Republicans control the House, but also this is something that Biden was unsuccessfully pushing for even when the Democrats held the House. And honestly, I really don't see this changing anytime soon because you do have to have some sort of federal law. Right? Liberal states can keep implementing gun control laws as much as they want, but when you have other states not doing a thing, or even trying to roll back the current laws, that even goes as far as the Supreme Court, which we recently saw ruling against gun control efforts in New York. But there is some good news here. It's now being reported that the government does have a surplus of thoughts and prayers to protect those in future incidents. And that brings us to the end of today's show. When you leave a comment on one of the news stories that mattered most to you, I just want to say thank you for liking, watching, being subscribed to these daily dives into the news. If you missed it, you should click to watch yesterday's show here or check out today's brand new bonus video. But as always, my name is Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Very distracted in my last few. Oh, geez, VK. Sorry, man. I didn't notice you. I'm just posting some cheddar stuff. Very good, thank you very much. It was an awesome trip. You've probably seen a bunch of photos. Very much needed a break. Didn't get to do anything with my 3 weeks off, so it was good to get away. It's at a place called the Whitsundays. Highly suggest if you ever visit Queensland. A lovely tropical place. Normally you don't get stuff like that around Sydney. Not places that I know of around here, or Melbourne, not that I know of. Once again, the further you get higher up of Australia, the more tropical it gets, the more humidity, the more closer you get to the equator. Same thing, so that's why you get a lot of stuff that looks like Southeast Asia up that way, which is interesting. Like I said, it's nice to see some places like that, somewhere I don't have to travel too far to see. But no, it was a wonderful time. I'm a few shades darker as well. Back to my normal skin. It takes me about 4 years to get a bit pale, and then 4 hours to just lose it all just by being at the beach. How have you been anyway? How are your studies and that? How's your fitness going, by the way, as well? Have you been keeping up with it?
Body cam footage is going to become the biggest story in America. Fox News just dropped a new culture war, and it's dumber than you'd expect. Justin Roiland's charges and accusations are now front and center. And the unexpected update to the 6-year-old who shot his teacher. We've got all of that on today's brand new Philip Franco show, so buckle up, hit that like button, and let's just jump into it. Justin Roiland is out pretty much everywhere. He's the co-creator of Rick and Morty. Adult Swim just announced they cut ties with him, though also announcing in their statement on Twitter yesterday that the series will continue, with the show having been contracted with season 10 and production for season 7 still continuing right now. As far as why Adult Swim made this decision, is it comes just a few weeks after it was reported that Justin Roiland is facing domestic violence charges, with a May 2020 complaint charging him with 1 count of domestic battery with corporal injury and 1 count of false imprisonment by menace, violence, fraud, or deceit. And the Hollywood Reporter saying the complaint alleges that Roiland did willfully and unlawfully inflict corporal injury resulting in a traumatic condition upon an unnamed woman who was in a dating relationship with the defendant. Now with this, Roiland pled not guilty back in 2020, was released on a $50,000 bond in August of 2020, and there have been hearings in this case since then, but the news about these charges just started making headlines this month. But that is not where it ended, because after that, some came forward on social media accusing him of grooming and sending inappropriate messages, including to underage fans. And so with that, there are now 2 situations involving Roiland. You have these separate social media claims and screenshots, and those are not related to the charges. Though, of course, this is a developing story, and more may come with that. You know, with all of this going on, you have people wondering, okay, well, what is going to happen to Roiland just in general as a person? Like, is this guy going to jail? But also, what does this mean for all the stuff that he's working on? Because with Rick and Morty, he's not just the co-creator, he in fact voices Rick and Morty. Though there, sources have said that the show will be recasting the roles that he voices. Which is people on the internet memeing about how this is fantastic news for all our annoying friends that have done Rick and Morty impressions for the past 5 years. We also ended up seeing Squanch Games, a video game studio that he co-founded, releasing a statement saying, on January 16th, Squanch Games received Justin Roiland's resignation. The passionate team at Squanch will keep developing games we know our fans will love while continuing to support and improve High on Life. And many now looking to Hulu, where Justin Roiland also has a relationship, right? He's a show like Solar Opposites there. But as all of that happens, Roiland has maintained his innocence, with his attorney T. Edward Wellborn previously
good to hear, VK.
Saying, it's hard to overstate how inaccurate the recent media coverage of the situation has been. To be clear, not only is Justin innocent, but we also have every expectation determination that this matter is on course to be dismissed once the district attorney's
always
office
good.
has completed
It's good.
its methodical review of the
Try to
evidence.
keep
We
that
look
balanced
forward
life.
to clearing Justin's name and helping him move forward
Study,
as swiftly as
keep
possible.
yourself
As
healthy,
right now, there is not a trial
physically,
date set, but
mentally,
its
and
next
socially.
Pre-trial hearing is in April. But with all this and understanding that it's still a developing situation, there are a number of different aspects and different stories here. But please let me know your thoughts on this situation, especially if you're a fan
I think I
of
might
Rick
have
and Morty
saw
or any of the other series. or
one of your
properties that
stories where you might have been at
Man,
karaoke,
guys,
I
wake
think.
up! The new culture war just dropped. Turns out Xbox is running a dangerous, covert, psychological operation to brainwash your children into becoming tree-hugging, vegan.
Looks like you're all having a wonderful, fun time.
At least that's the latest bullshit culture war a number of conservatives are trying to start.
Are
At
you
this
moving,
point,
are you?
How do they keep track? The candies aren't sexy
never
enough.
easy.
Study finding gas stoves.
Quite the
might be
disruption
bad
in
for our
life,
health.
but,
That's
you
an
know,
attack on who I am.
we gotta do what we
Charlie
gotta
Kirk thinks
do.
the liberals are coming for his coffee or what looks like maybe honey mustard. Is there any coffee in your coffee, Charlie boy? Yeah, now the target is on Xbox. With all of this seeming to stem from a blog post Xbox published earlier this month outlining a number of updates to lower its environmental impact as part of an effort to reach Microsoft's goal of being carbon negative by
That's good.
2030.
Hey,
This included
that's it.
a number of pretty small and simple
Moving out
changes
can
to
also
the
be a
response.
workout, you know, all
Instead
those
of having
boxes that you
Xbox
move and
wake up
everything
to
and all
update
that. Be
games,
careful.
apps, and software during
Make sure to
random
lift with your
times.
knees and not with
Do
your
so
back.
at a certain time of night when a user's local energy grid is
Every time our
generating the power
patients
it can from renewable sources.
tell us that
Beyond
they're
that,
moving
Xbox said it would automatically update some
that
older
weekend
consoles to a
or anything like
power-saving
that.
mode that aims to reduce electricity consumption.
I always just make a joke, well, I guess I'll make you a booking for next week then, because it's always the
The only
case.
difference for users is that an Xbox
People either
power
injure
saving
themselves
mode takes
or
around 15 seconds to boot up.
push
instead of
too
doing
hard, not
so
even injured,
immediately
just the
as the
repetitive
console does in
movement of
sleep
just
mode, which is a
lifting
pretty
stuff
small
and putting stuff
nothing
down.
compared for what the outlet described as a significant energy saving.
Very
All of that
tiring.
seemingly small reason
we get a lot of
bullshit
patients that come in
just
just
too
from moving
much
stuff as
for the
well, so
culture
yeah.
police, with Fox yesterday informing its viewers that there's now a new non-issue to get pissed off about, which is kind of shocking that they care about video games, since after every fucking school shooting there's always someone on there going like, video games are the problem. But y'all, truly, the conversations that happened around this, they are as dumb, if not dumber, than you think. Right? This is an actual conversation that happened on Fox and Friends. That's all I'm
So
saying.
Xbox has also announced they're going woke too, in because of climate change.
I mean, it's crazy what they're doing, but we understand what this is. It's not that it's actually going to offset emissions. Okay, the level of reduction is infinitesimal, but they're trying to recruit your kids into climate politics at an earlier age.
What are you up to today anyway, VK? What did you get up to in the weekend? Like I said, I think I saw you go karaoke.
They're one day away from
That might have been
fighting
a
the
while ago,
situation
but
as
yeah.
Xbox is
Reminds me of how much I used to go
Also, like,
karaoke.
please think of the
Heaps
children
after
who
high
have to wait
school.
15 more seconds
Maybe
to
even
load up
during,
Grand
actually.
Theft Auto and kill hookers. Which, side note, the idea that only kids are playing video games, like, we just gotta throw that shit out the window. Because in
Our
terms
whole
of data
group
from
would be
Microsoft shows
terrible
just
at singing,
around
except for this
10% of
one
Xbox
girl,
owners are under the
where
age
she
of
was
18.
brilliant
This is
because like,
Fox
she
News,
went
baby.
to a
We're not
choir
gonna
and
let the
everything and all
truth
that,
get in
so
the
she
way of the
knew
headline. It doesn't
how to
taste
sing
like a
properly.
nothing
So
burger if you pour on a little
she
raisin.
definitely had
It's
the
not
mic
Fox
on
News,
her
your conservative young America's
for a lot of our
foundation
karaoke
group claiming
sessions.
The woke brigade is after
But yeah.
video games, sharing an
But in
article
saying
from the
that, you
right-wing
know,
website The Blaze that
if you
claimed
have the
that
heart
Xbox
to
will force gamers to
not
power
worry about
down
what you
to
sound
climate
like and just
change.
have
This
fun,
also despite
that's
the fact
all
that
it
the
is.
settings
That's what
that we're
karaoke
talking
is.
about are things that
Once you
users
stop
can
caring
go
about
in
how you
and
sound, that's when you
change.
have fun.
Once again, they are not going to let the truth
I'll
get
admit
in
though,
the way
alcohol
of a
does
good
help as
narrative.
well.
This
Make sure you're
including
18 and
certain
over, or
lawmakers
wherever
like
your
Ted
country
Cruz
is
who
to be illegal
tweeted,
drinking.
first gas stoves, then your
Yeah,
coffee,
yeah.
now they're gunning for your
Drunk courage.
Xbox. With Twitter only using the opportunity to add the
But it's a
extra
good way
context warning on the
to get out of your
post
shell.
that is not a mandatory feature. Also, once again, on the gas stove note, like, I have a gas stove. I don't know why people are acting so personally attacked, because studies have consistently shown that they're major contributors to things like childhood asthma and respiratory problems. People are acting like some legislation is going to get passed, and all of a sudden, like, the police are kicking in the door, and they're like, is that gas? Round them all up, including the little ones. But genuinely, for some of the people that are eating up this culture war bullshit, they think that's like a possibility. They take this Xbox news at face value. It would just be gut-bustingly funny if it wasn't for the fact that we share a country with a lot of these people. I'm at a genuine loss here. And then, let me tell you about today's sponsor, Seed, and their clinically and scientifically backed DSO-1
So most of your
daily
friends at
symbiotic.
school.
And I've been reading some of your comments about
How come
Seed.
you're not at
Break it
school?
all down.
Well,
Seed
because you're moving
DSO-1
today as
daily
well.
Symbiotic is a prebiotic and probiotic in one, right? Because the most important thing for me is to make sure that the probiotic strain makes it to my colon aligned. And DSO-1 provides
I just skipped
benefits
today.
like healthy
That's all good.
clarity, ease, bloating, heart health, and more. Plus, unlike most probiotics,
Just
on
a
the
mental
market,
day off?
DSO-1 requires no
Helping with
fermentation.
moving, or
It actually makes it to your colon with
you know,
100% survivability.
not like I care what your
They
reason is.
know thanks to their unique capsule and
I mean, like,
capsule design. You know, I've been taking
whatever your
DSO-1
reason is,
for
it's
about
your
a year,
reason.
right?
You don't have to tell me sort of
365
thing.
days, 730
You get a lot of people that get
capsules,
sick days and whatnot because you just need that day off.
healthier and easier poops. I said
Nothing
it.
wrong
Cut
with
through
that.
the bullshit. If that part of my life is not good, the rest of my life suffers. And honestly, my gut health has never felt more supported since taking Seed's DSO-1, and I've been getting friends, family,
Yeah, That's it. We all need those days.
In your first month, they receive this
I'm most
refillable
jealous of
flash
my
jar,
wife
travel
because
vial
she's a
with
graphic
30 days
designer.
supply. And after that, they send monthly
And she gets to
refills
work
that
from
are
home
seasonally packaged. Make a change in your health
when she wants to or when she needs to, but she mainly still has to go into the office. But there are some days where she just wakes up and just says,
And
you
then,
know what,
remember the teacher that got shot
I'm not
by
feeling
her
like it
6-year-old
today.
student? Well, now she's
I'm gonna
suing
call
the
up work
school,
today and
and
just
when
work
you
from
get
home.
the
Like,
details
man,
of the story, I think you're gonna go,
that's
yeah,
so
makes sense.
convenient.
To start off, most importantly,
As a
teacher
physical
Abby
therapist,
Turner is going to be okay.
you have
According
to
an
be
announcement
there.
from her lawyer this morning, she's at home and recovering from the whole situation. But we also
Yeah,
received
fair
some
enough.
wild information from
It's a
Abby's
nice
lawyer
ability
after
to be able to study from
starting
home, by
with
the way.
The administration at Richneck Elementary
The amount of
was warned
distractions that
3
you have at
separate
home,
times before Abby
it's not
was shot
easy.
that the boy might have a gun. And each of these times, they decided not to act. So according
That's
to
why I
Abby's
always have to
Abby
study at
shot
the
the
library.
boy threatened to beat up another student.
Library, it's just me
12:30, another
and my
teacher
study
searched the boy's
material.
bag and told the
No
admin she thought
distractions.
The boy had the gun in his pocket at
Yeah.
recess, but they chose not to do anything because, quote, well, he has little pockets. Then around 1 p.m., a third teacher went to the administration with another student, and that student said that the shooter showed him the gun at recess and told him he would shoot him if he said anything. Still, allegedly, the administration does nothing. And then finally, a fourth staff member asked to search the boy's bag for the gun, only to be told no because the school day was almost over. And then finally, Abby was shot, with the lawyer wrapping this all up with the announcement that Abby has decided to sue the Newport News School District. So we'll obviously have to keep an eye on how that specific part goes, but we also do have other information. Starting with the initial question that almost everyone asked, how the hell did the boy get the gun in the first place? There you have the
This
parents'
is a
attorney
tragic
coming
story.
out saying the gun was purchased legally, claiming that it was safely stored on a shelf over 6 feet off the ground in a closet, and it had a trigger lock. So that attorney reportedly was unsure how the boy managed to remove the lock.
That's the
But also going on to explain
that's
that
the gamble
boy
when you
has
study at home.
disability and was under
You know,
a care plan that required a parent
that's
to
what
go to
happens.
school with him
That's
every
why
day to attend classes.
I think I might have told you my study
The
method.
first week that this did not happen.
It's called
According to the
Pomodoro
parents'
study
attorney, the boy was
method.
in a
Look it up
facility
if you want,
undergoing
but
psychiatric care after the shooting. So take those
I think
claims
it's-
as you will. The investigation's still ongoing. And
Oh,
also,
what
that's not
was
even
it?
the end of the story, because we've also seen the community rushing to the school board meeting last
I
week.
think I
calling for
study
the
for
superintendent
15,
and
20
to be
minutes.
fired. And the reason the parents are using
And then
it
I
over
take a
job
5-minute
goes down to
break.
safety, saying he just
And I
hasn't
do
done
that for
enough
about
with
4
systemic problems that
intervals.
have led to serious safety
On the
concerns
4th
within the district. So
interval,
the school board is now set to meet this
I get
evening
a
to vote on
15-minute
separation
break,
deal for
and then it
Parker, as well as
resets.
choose an interim superintendent.
In
And
a
finally,
way,
as far as the school in general, Richneck Elementary is slated
it
to open
allows me
approximately
to
Monday,
stay
January 30th.
focused,
So for now, we have
but
our
not
eyes
so
on this.
much
There
that
are
I
a
get
lot of big
distracted
claims, there are a lot of
and start
new
getting bored of my
updates and more to
studies.
come. And then
That little
Memphis
5
police
minutes might
killed
be
an
just
unarmed black man
watch
by
a
reportedly
video,
beating him like a
take a
human
break,
being.
come back.
There's a video of this, which
But
is
I find
set
it's
to be
a lot more
released
helpful when it
somewhat
comes
soon,
to
either this
retaining
week or next
information,
week, is, as
to
it has
give
been
your
described,
brain
it's
that
gonna be
time to
biggest
let the
story
information
in the
settle in.
country. So let's talk
Moving
about some of the
schools are
details
going
we
down
know.
the hill.
Tyree Nichols was a
Yeah,
25-year-old
yeah,
black man
this
who
whole
was killed
news.
by 5 Memphis police
Oh,
officers
look,
a few weeks ago, all of
it's
whom
been
were also
happening
white.
for a
They
long
both
time
were
now,
killed
let's
due to
admit
him
it.
allegedly recklessly
Unfortunately.
driving on New Year's Day. And this next
But it's
series
very
of events is
unfortunate
what
that it
police
happens
claim
still.
happened. Right, so according to the police, a confrontation
It's
happened when
definitely
they
a
stopped him
difference in
after Richie
culture,
fled on
that's
foot.
all.
They then allegedly chased after him, where
You
another
know,
confrontation happened before he was taken into
I
custody.
can't say
Nichols
too much
then
about it because
complained
it's not
about
my
shortness
culture,
of
this
breath.
is their
An
thing.
ambulance was called. Nichols
When it
was
comes
then
to guns,
taken to
it
the
can be
hospital.
very easy to
Pretty
just
soon
say, you know what,
he
just
died
don't
a
have
few
guns,
days
but
later. Although as of right
it's
now,
not
they're
part of
saying
our
the
culture.
official cause
We
of
won't
death is that
understand.
report having not been released to the public yet. So today, a preliminary autopsy commissioned by the
But
family found
regardless,
that Tyree
yes,
Nichols
it is
had
tragic.
bleeding caused by a severe beating. But the authorities seem to have a pretty good idea of
Right.
what actually
No
happened.
teacher
because
or
they
kid should
have
have to go to
footage
school
of
and
the
fear for
incident,
their
also
life,
leading
sort
them
of
to fire
thing.
the 5 officers after an administrative investigation found they violated department policies. In particular, they used too much force, didn't intervene to stop the beating, and didn't render aid to Nichols. We also have a slightly better idea of what went on because the footage was seen by Nichols' family and their attorney yesterday, and this is how the lawyer described the video.
He was defenseless the entire time. He was a human pinata for those police officers. It was an unadulterated, unabashed, non-stop beating of this young boy for 3 minutes.
Apparently so bad that his mother couldn't even get through the first minute after hearing him ask the officers, "What did I do?" And his stepfather going on to say,
What I saw on the video today was horrific. No father, mother should have to witness what I saw today.
also saying why he thought Nichols ran in the first place.
Our son ran because he was scared for his life. He did not run because he was trying to get rid of no drugs, no guns, no any of that. He ran because he was scared for his life. And when you see the video, you will see why he was
I haven't watched this video yet.
It also
It's
didn't help that many of these officers were in unmarked vehicles and wearing plain clothes, leading
I'm
many
tend
to
to
get
be up to
angry
date
that
with
these
the
kind
news
of
and
officers
whatnot,
will
but
initiate a
it's
traffic
just
stop.
tragic
They
after
arguing,
tragic
of course,
news.
you're going to be extremely
There's
scared
some sort
if
of word for
randoms
it.
in normal clothes are trying to stop you. And of course, there are other questions out there like, how could this happen? Right? in there, when asked if the officers, regardless of their race, had poor department training or
I've read the
influenced by
captions,
the
I've read
actions
some of
other
the things
officers,
this
the
victim has
district attorney
said,
I think
it's
the answer to
just-
all those questions is yes. Going on to say they hope that
It's
this
just
will force the
heartbreaking.
police to focus on new training, including focusing on de-escalating encounters. Also, regarding the
Well, it's
footage of
been
this incident,
one
there, of
after
course,
another,
calls for it
just
to be
downward
released, but there
spiral
we've seen the
views,
police
so
reluctant and
it's a took a break from this channel for a bit.
Transparency
Videos have built up, so alright, let's
and a
catch up with the
premature
world while I
release
work
could
out.
adversely impact the criminal investigation and the judicial process. We are working with the
just
district
horrible.
attorney's office to determine the appropriate time to release video recordings publicly. So it could be released today, it could be released tomorrow. We do know that Shelby County District Attorney's Office plans to release the video either this week or next week. And also with that, the district attorney said that charges, if any, could be announced later this week. Which regarding those charges, the Nichols family has said that justice for us is murder one. Anything short of that, we will not accept. And notably, murder one in Tennessee requires premeditation or killing someone while committing a very narrow set of crimes like rape, theft, or kidnapping, which a number of experts say could be a big hill to climb for prosecutors. We also have a number of people speaking on the officers involved and kind of the training to become one. The people pointing to things like the fact that in Tennessee, it takes 1,500 hours to become a barber, but only 500 for an officer. Also, with this whole situation, there are widespread expectations that once this footage gets released, there's going to be
I wouldn't doubt that. That can be an easy estimate, BK.
Already seen some protests going on.
I would
However,
easily believe it.
pleaded with people to please keep it peaceful.
We don't need no burning of the city or no looting.
I'm willing to bet money on it as well without any factual research.
But of course, we have no idea how the public is going to react when this video gets released because we haven't seen it yet. This could be a powder keg waiting to go off, but for now, we're gonna have to wait to see how this all plays out, what the fallout
There are
is,
deeper
and,
rooted
until we
meanings,
see
I guess.
more, of course,
You
I
want to
will
look
do
into the
it
person
also.
that
And
committed
is what
these
they show it. For more than
crimes
that,
and
you need,
everything
I
and
got
all
you
that.
covered right here. Just click or tap. My
You
name is
know,
Philip DeFranco.
the old saying, guns don't kill people, people kill people.
See you tomorrow.
So you want to get into the education process, teach people growing up and everything about the education of weaponry, gun violence and whatnot, because you can get to the heart of that and you're truly teaching for the newer generations. That's what it is. That's what a lot of, I think most of our problems are. It's easy to talk about, but from an outside perspective, I believe it is just education of the younger generations. Everyone, of course, not just the younger. Even the older generations, like, yeah, including me, like, we don't have all our screws in place.
Just made to reporters, how even non-profit hospitals are screwing you, bring down this absolutely wild Alec Murdoch situation, huge updates in the Tyree Nichols tragedy. We've got all of that to talk about and so much more in today's brand new extra large Philip DeFranco show. So buckle up, hit that like button to let me know you like these
Like
big
in Australia,
shows.
we
Let's
have
jump into it. Andrew Tate just
laws
made his
against
first
guns.
public
You have
appearance
to have
and
official
statements
lights
since
and
being
everything
detained in Romania.
Get one,
Tate and his
it's
brother
very
Chiro were
not
arrested
easy.
last
You have to
month
go through a
and
whole
detained on
official
allegations that
process.
they were involved with human
But I guess
trafficking,
one of the
rape, and
arguments is
organized
even
crime.
if
Well, his Twitter account
you
has
don't
remained
have
active
guns or
and said
as
things
readily
like his
available,
only friends at
people
night,
that have their
cockroaches
screws
lice
loose
in
will
bed.
find
Well,
a way.
this was the first time
If
the
they
two
want to
brothers
hurt
got
someone,
to
they'll
directly
find
speak
another
to
way to hurt
reporters who
someone.
knew who
You
was
still have
actually saying
blades,
it,
you still
while
have
they were escorted
vehicles.
into the offices of the
Like,
Romanian
they'll find
Directorate
very
for
creative
Investigating
ways
Organized Crime and
to
Terrorism.
do what they want to do.
why I'm in jail.
So that's why sometimes taking away guns isn't the answer. It's the education process.
Andrew, is the matrix that makes you
Andrew, what happened in prison?
The case file is completely empty. Of course it's unjust. There's no justice to the
Did you hurt any girl?
With both of the Tates also making some more comments as they were being escorted out.
Ask the police what evidence they have against me. It's nothing. They're holding me because of media pressure. You understand? They're persecuting me because I'm rich and successful.
The Matrix is trying to frame me, but God knows the truth. There's no evidence in my files. I've done nothing wrong. So everybody knows I'm innocent.
But as far as what actually happens next in this case, you have the Tate brothers set to remain in detention until at least late February. And that, after a judge extended their detention by 30 days last Friday. The Tates, of course, appealing both their initial detention and the seizure of their assets from their compound, but both have been rejected. For now, we're going to have to wait to see what comes from these investigations, as well as what happens at the end of the 30 days. And then, all 5 cops involved in the death of Tyree Nichols have now been charged with second-degree murder, which is notably short of the first degree that his family demanded, but also far more likely they would actually be able to get a conviction. Along with those charges, we're seeing charges for aggravated assault, aggravated kidnapping, official misconduct, and official oppression. They've also all been arrested and sent to county jail, with Memphis's police chief promising to release the body cam footage from the violent
It's sad, it
traffic
truly is.
and those cops in the coming
We
days.
do not
Like I
live
said
in a
yesterday,
perfect
I do
world,
not know
unfortunately.
what the reaction's going to be,
So, you know,
because the description of what's on
hopefully
that
people see
video
the news
is horrific, so
and learn
horrible.
from
The
it.
response was widely condemned, even by
Because,
their
you know,
own
a lot of
police
these
force.
atrocities
Fired
are
a
happening,
week after
even if we
Tyree
don't
died.
see it.
Tyree's family saying the video showed him
There's
being
plenty of
eaten
more
like a
sad,
human pinata. Of course, there
unreported
is more
news
to come, but
that we
since
don't
talked
hear
about
about.
this yesterday, I wanted to make sure that I provided
So you just
an
do
update
your
today.
best
And then Trump's getting his
to try to
Facebook
make
and
your
Instagram
world
back. Right, 2 years
a good
after
place.
he was banned from both platforms, you know, the small matter of inciting.
I have a selfish viewpoint on the world where I can only control what's in my world. I can't control what happens in the world. I'm not a big enough visionary to get into politics and do that sort of change. So selfishly, I remain in my bubble and make sure it's the best that it can be. Meaning me, my friends, my family, people that are connected to me, my work, my patients,
depending on the severity of the violation.
And hopefully within that, it spreads across to others.
Standards, but quote, contributes to the sort of risk that materialized on January 6th, such as content that delegitimizes the election or
BK,
QAnon.
thank you very much. I know you don't have to do this, but I highly appreciate it. Thank you. You're too kind.
The penalty for repeat offenses here being that Meta may temporarily restrict access.
I look forward to seeing whatever it is.
As far as why are they doing this? Also, why
much appreciated, as always. Thank you.
Whether or not to extend the unprecedented 2 years.
I'm not used to receiving gifts or compliments for that matter, so I'm trying my best to learn how to thank people more and just take it.
Rooted in the belief that open debate and the free flow of ideas.
Don't say that. Trust me, look. We all have potential. Remember that. We all have potential. I definitely wasn't the greatest kid growing up, 100%. I gave my family a very much hard time growing up. It's only maybe in my last 5 years that I've truly grown up. Before that, I was just the typical student who just had way too much fun. And yeah, put his life on the back burner in the back seat for too long a time. But you know, I tell myself always, if you learn from your mistakes, then they're never mistakes; they're just lessons. And I've made many mistakes. So, you know, believe in yourself. That's the thing. You have to want it. No one's going to give it to you. Luck is just opportunities that are handed to you. It's up to you what you want to do with that luck / opportunities. And I've definitely had a lot of luck.
That's something Trump himself also hit on in a post on Truth Social where he claimed that Facebook had lost
But
billions.
it's not enough. You have to act on it. You have to want it.
Such a thing should never happen to a sitting president or anybody else who is not deserving of retribution. With this going on to praise Truth Social. It's actually with that you have people going.
Another thing I'm lucky with is family. I'm lucky that my family has stuck with me
Twitter yet? Right, Elon Musk reinstated him a while ago.
through my journey.
I think the answer is really fucking obvious. Of course he will go back at some point. Are you
Yeah,
like
as a teen, as an adult, it doesn't stop. You could have all of the greatest intentions, and sometimes you make some little silly mistakes. Sometimes just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Didn't mean any of it. Things like that happen, you know. You just keep pushing forward. That's always been my thing. Just keep pushing forward. Yeah, I love it too. I see. One of your friends is really ripped, by the way. I'm jealous, by the way. The guy's like got proper shredded abs and everything. Last time I saw on your story, I was like, damn. I have to push myself harder.
And then hospitals are coming for your money, or as my
But that's what it is. Practice, practice, practice. The amount of reps you get in, the amount of repetition you get into any art, any skill, that's the only way to get better. They say perfect, they say practice makes perfect. Another tweak to that saying is perfect practice makes perfect. So if you keep making the same mistakes during practice, then you're always going to keep making the same mistakes. So you try to edge yourself as close as you can to perfection, but not so much to the point that you don't allow yourself the free will to be creative.
Meaning they're getting those juicy benefits like $1 billion tax break. However, like Uncle Ben said,
but yeah. Don't I sound like an old fart? Maybe I am an old fart. Wait, Daniel, you are the old fart. Love that weight set. And that's good for EK. Hopefully they're a positive influence in you and that they motivate you to work out as well, to better yourself in any way that you choose. I've definitely been influenced. You want to, like it's the old saying, you definitely want the right people to hang around you. Some of my closest friends, I know me growing up, like I don't think I had moments where I didn't think I had potential, but then I saw people that truly dedicated their lives to their craft and their work. And I don't know, it definitely rubbed off on me. That's it. That's what it is. You know what? One of my personal defining assets, if I'd like to talk up about myself, is I'm really good at guilt tripping myself. Sometimes to a detriment, but I'm really good at putting myself down if I don't do the right thing, if I don't do the workout, if I don't get into some sort of study. Oh, that's it. We only have so much time in our lives, so make the most of it in a sense. I skip a day of working out, my mindset's like, damn, that's one day I'll never get back in my life. That's one day that I won't be able to progress myself. I could be that much better than before, but it won't come back because that's it, I wasted that time. But that's sort of the grind mindset that I've got in my mind. It's good. It's good to a point until you start like getting, until it debilitates you, of course. So, you know, allow it to motivate, but at the same time, don't let it stop you from doing what you want to do. You get some people that get way too deep into that sort of mindset and putting them down so much that they can't even do anything. Oh. Gotta make some breakfast. Yeah, good stuff. I'm gonna go make lunch. I'm done for the day. Thanks, VK. Thanks for the others who've joined in, followed. Hopefully I'll be back at it Wednesday morning, depends what time I have work, whether that be in the morning or afternoon, regardless will happen. I do need to get back into my streaming workouts. Even if I don't stream, I still work out regardless. Sometimes I just don't feel like turning it on. Sometimes I like being very lazy during my workout, but the main thing is I get it done. But yeah, alright. Take care, VK. Take care, everyone. Till next time. Thanks again, VK.